You are live.
Hello, everybody. This is We
Hey,
Lovebird and
hey,
We're
hey.
Live, coming to you tonight on a little bit more of a serious topic tonight. We're going to be talking about does being raped or molested affect you in your adult life, is
So
what
we're
we're
gonna give
talking about tonight.
yes, and we're gonna give people time to join in, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes, because we're trying to keep this show to an hour. But we wanted to come on with a little bit more deeper topic, things that people don't really like to talk about. And I know you probably see it in the comment bar. Um, does being raped or molested affect you in your adult life? That is the top. That is the topic. That is the question. Even if you're not a victim of rape or molestation, they say, statistically speaking, 1 out of 6 people get raped and molested every hour in America. That's the first thing. So that's a high number. A lot of this is also not talked about because you're made to feel bad when you're telling the truth of things that happen. So we're opening this floor to a very deep conversation. It may touch people and it may open some doors for people that they don't want to open. Um, not You can have a friend that literally has been molested or raped. What does the two have in common? Raped and molested. No means no. If you're raping someone, they're telling you no. That means they don't like what you're doing to them. If you are molested as a child, most of the times it happens to you when when you're a child. So, and the child has no bearings to say no. They can't speak for themselves. They can't do anything. All they can do is allow it to happen. 16-year-old, 17-year-old. If you're older than these people, it is still considered molesting someone. Now, I'm gonna let Vonda talk because she studied this a lot today, and then I will talk after she finishes.
Okay, we only have just a couple of people watching right now, but the impact can be, people can suppress memories until something else tragically happens to them, and then they'll start to remember things that happened to them over in their childhood, which then goes over into their adult life and causes major problems sometimes they could be bothered but act unbothered. We just don't know that. But statistically speaking, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped in their lifetime. And that's, when you think about what the population is in the world, that's a lot of people. And then, a lot of times, um, females that report it know the person that did it, or well, he could have been an intimate partner, or he was an acquaintance of hers. Because, 51% of the rape victims do know their perpetrator. And, it's so hard to prove. And, you look and people look at you sideways, and then sometimes it's just swept under the rug and never talked about, but it still affects that person in their everyday life, and they just don't talk about it. So what we want to do is just open it up just to have a conversation about it for people who want to talk about it but feel like they have nowhere to go to talk about it. We could talk about this today, and if we don't know an answer, we'll try to get it for you, and inbox you separately or whatever. We're no experts by any means, but we do want to help the people that we can who's going through this, because it's very difficult for people to talk about.
And let me just say,
Hello, everybody.
hi, all that's joining on. Let me just say this. I have people that come to my inbox, like I said, and they will me and Vonda's inbox at the time, and they will speak of things, and they'll say topics that need to be discussed and things that need to be talked about. So we want to kind of be diverse in that area to say, hey, now, whereas in Vonda may not have experienced any rape or molestation in her lifetime, I have. So I'm not speaking because I don't know what this feels like. It's a very, very touchy topic. It's one that's very hard to talk about because it's a dark place that you don't want to go. You don't want to remember it. You try your best to forget it because that's what you're told to do. And in my lifespan of going through it, I can say, speaking on the topic, that it does affect you in your adult life. It causes you to question things about yourself. It causes you to feel less of a person. Or these are the things that I went through. And then it put me in a dark place in my life where I kept feeling like, what did I do wrong to deserve it? That's always the underline. Like, what did I do that made somebody want to do this to me? That's kind of how it went on for years. And I was self-destructing for years until I said, wait a minute, I got to do something about this, because at the time I wanted to jump off of a bridge, but it doesn't help anything. It doesn't make you stronger, but it, as growing up and it's being done to you, and you can't tell anybody, but you feel like you can't tell anybody. You don't know who's going to believe you. That's the second thing. It's hard. It's very, very, very hard. So that was why we decided to talk about this tonight.
But you have to realize at the same time, you as a child, that is never, ever, ever your fault, because you are a child. You don't know what is actually being done to you. You just know somebody's telling you to do this if you're a child when this happens to you. Or you could be up in age where you know it's wrong, but you still don't know how to tell somebody, or you've been told you better not tell somebody, or whatever the case may be. And then, in some cases, you may tell, and like she just said, you might tell your mother or whoever, and they don't believe you because they just can't believe that this person did this to you. So you have to be able to hopefully be able to talk about it to somebody before you self-destruct. Like one guy said, he's known a lot of women who's gone through this that he's dealt with, and it's affected them. And I'm sure it has. Like she said, I've never experienced that, so I can't say per se, but I've known someone who has, that was very close to me, and it affected them in that way. And they just kind of push it under the rug, don't think about it, don't talk about it or anything like that. And you don't want to bring it up to a person because you don't know what it's going to open back up for them. So
right. Latoya says this is a very touchy topic and she can relate. And then Jeffrey said some people will judge you, which I think both of them have a valid point in that area. People do, and that's the one thing that I knew growing up. People will judge you on that, especially when you're struggling with your identity and you're struggling with who you are at that point. I was molested by a lady, which happened to be a friend of the family. It took me years I went through not knowing if I was going to be with a man or if I was going to be with a woman. And I'm speaking this very openly because I try to keep it very raw and real. So probably from the time when I was 12 until about 15, I struggled with my identity, like not knowing what was right or wrong, because in my mind, the touch of a woman was great because that's what I learned first. And then the thought of a man touching me completely grossed me out. And as I got older, it was the same feeling. It was like you're searching for something that you're not sure what it is that you're supposed to feel. So you keep trying to figure it out. And then you find yourself in all these relationships with different types of men because you're looking for something that was taken away from you at a very young age. Now, when I finally spoke about it, I was in my adulthood, like 18. That's when it kind of surfaced and hit the fan. So, and it was a lot for me because I had put it so far out of my mind that it was like, no, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want people to know. But I had to talk about it to get past it because I felt unclean. I felt dirty. I mean, it took me years to go, okay, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. I don't want to be this lady who hates life to the point where everything around me was just bad for me. And I just actually shared this with Vonda a couple nights ago because she didn't even know, because that's how dark it was for me in my life. And she was shocked. She was like, wow, and we've known each other for 30 plus years. But when you take something and you put it so far out of your mind, you don't want to bring it back, because then all the questions come and all the stuff answers. You have to answer questions and people want to know how and why and how it took place. I don't need to be graphic. Molestation is molestation. I don't care how you slice it. If I didn't say yes and you're doing it to me and I'm a minor and I can't tell you to stop because you're telling me this is what I'm supposed to do, then that's what I'm going to do, because that's what I'm told to do. And we was told, if an adult tells you to do something, you listen. And now we have to teach our kids to do different stuff. Like, I kept asking myself, did I do something to provoke it? Was I walking around a certain kind of way? Was my body structure a certain kind of way? What attracted her to me to make her feel like she could have violated everything about me? And at the time I'm thinking, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because this is what, go ahead, Latoya. Go ahead, Vaughn.
Latoya said, I don't know why I'm echoing. It's called your time of release. It can take hold of your future if you allow it. And Jeffrey said sometimes you need someone strong to help you. He's had 3 women who was raped. But how did you feel after you told me about it? How are you dealing with it now in your adult life?
Now, when I told you, it was hard, because I actually cried when I got off the phone, because I allowed myself to go back to a place that was dark for me. I had to, it's like you revisit it. You revisit the scene, you revisit the act, you revisit how it was done to you, you revisualize faces, and there's no closure, because she never was brought up on charges. We ended up moving out the state. So it affected me different than another person in my family that it was being done to as well. And it was horrible. But I ended up having a nervous breakdown at 16, ended up trying to take my life, because I was in that dark place. The dark place that I was just like, I can't do this. I don't even want to function, because I was going through life. I had left home. I was running the streets. I was in the clubs. I was dating the dope boys and dating the drug dealers, just trying to find this piece of me that I felt like was missing. I was trying to love anything that seemed like it was loving me. That's how I was rolling. And people was like, oh, you a cute girl. You can have, yes, I probably could have had any person that I wanted. I think I meant you running them streets, and I was self-destructing at that time, trying to figure out, why do I feel this way when somebody touches me? Why do I not like it? Why is it uncomfortable? Why do I feel like I need to scrub every time I lay down? Those were the mental challenges that I had for a long time, until I was able to say, no, I need help with this. I can't, this is a battle I can't fight by myself.
Right.
So
you never get over it. Ever.
So when you're in these situations, anybody, you got to talk about it. You gotta be able to say what no one wants you to say. You got to be able to, tell your story to someone. I would say, don't hold it in. Don't carry it with you for so long, because the longer you carry it with you, the more it affects you as you get older. And I'm in a place now in my life, which is good. And I'm happy, because had I not released it in my 20s, I probably would have been damaged in my 30s. But I was able to say, okay, this is not where I want to be. This is not who I am. This is not where I'm going, and let it go. But not to say I didn't go through a lot of storms in the process of trying to let it go.
Hell and high water.
You got to read some of them dark things on that page. Them things are so small.
It is. I'm trying.
Hold up. I just hit it.
Said the feeling of being molested sometimes make you grow up to where you seek different sexual experiences just to try to justify what happened to you, make what was done feel right. But the only way was to allow it to come out and to get to understand why you, or why it had to happen, or what would make someone so kind to do this, of what they did. I do to attract something like this is to happen. You begin to blame yourself, and Shelley said you began to self-destruct.
Yeah, you do. You self-destruct because you're seeking something now. You're looking, and Latoya, you're right. You're looking for something that makes you feel pure again. I mean, at 13, I was being touched by a woman. I was being kissed by a woman. I was being told this is how you're supposed to feel. And this is long before bisexual and lesbian and gays was even on the scene. It was like, this is wrong. In my mind, I know it's wrong, but I'm told you have to do this. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what happens. And if you tell it, this is what happens. It's always this underlying thing of, if you telling it, if you told, what would happen if you told it? And I wasn't the one who told it. And when it was brought to the attention, the way that it was brought was traumatizing, because it almost tore our family apart when it surfaced. And then it was the blame of my mother wondering what she did wrong, and this person wondering what they didn't do right. And it had nothing to do with that. I had taken that part of my life And I had buried it so far in my head that I just didn't want it to be in the forefront. And that's how I dealt with it. That's how I coped. Just like,
So,
okay, didn't happen.
so did anyone that you told in your family confront that person?
No, because we moved from Florida.
So
And I always wonder, like, what happened to her? Like, what happened to her in her life? Because this happened to me for years. And you're talking about almost 3, 4 years of abuse. So
wow.
abuse at that level, where I wasn't able to say, hey, this is happening to me. And it wasn't because my parents wasn't loving parents. I just felt like this was what an adult is supposed to do because you're a child and you do what you're told. And that's how we grew up. West Indian people, that's how you're taught that way. You listen to the adult, you're a kid, and you do what the adult says do. So
Period.
that's what I did. Period. There was no she don't like me. There was none of that. It was just this is what I have to do. So that's kind of how it went for me in my life. And like I said, it took me to a place where I think for years in my 20s, I just was on a path of destruction, like, in and out of clubs, bars, smoking, running with all kinds of dudes. And, it was just so much that was going on in my life, meeting the wrong guys. And I think that played an effect on the guys that I chose in my life as well. Like some of the guys that I was with and why it was like that dominant figure of somebody like controlling me. So I looked and seeked the control until I realized this control ain't good for me. This is bad control.
Latoya said to be told at 26 that the reason was and why is that at 2 years old, I touched his private area and he began to be attracted to me. So then I became a target for his sick and wrongdoing. Latoya, is this person still around? Did you ever confront this person for what they did to you? Or did you tell that he did this to you? Wow. I never knew that, man. That's awful. I mean, this topic is just very touchy and it just hurts me to my soul that people do this to kids, or people that feels defenseless and helpless against what somebody is doing to them.
And Xavier said everybody that touched him, everybody that watched him molested him.
I'm looking at this and that's amazing to me.
Yeah, it is. It's sad. I mean, it's like right now, like I'm tearing up because it's like you're opening a wound and you're hearing other people that literally go through this stuff. And it's harder. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Latoya and Xavier, it's harder when you cannot confront them. It's hard when you have to carry because you never can ask them, why me? What you have that in your head all the time. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do for you to want to do this to me and mess up my life at such a young age? That's the part where you're scarred and you feel damaged. You feel completely damaged. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the things, and I tell people, I look at little girls and mothers, how they raise their daughters and they have their daughters running around their boyfriends with like little shorts on and they're in their panties and they're laying on some guy's chest that they don't know and they're all up on that. You can't, especially women, you can't have your daughters around everybody. You can't leave them unattended to. You have to pay attention to all the stuff that goes around because you don't know where a man's mind can go in just seconds. And men, the same thing. Men are molested all the time. There's so many men that have been raped by their fathers and their mothers looking at their private parts and all kinds of sick stuff that happens.
Latoya said, yes, he's still around. I came forward, but it was swept under the rug until other young girls in my family became his target. Then it was as if I would have did something then I wouldn't have happened. Wow. I'm just kind of at a loss for words with this one because, this is why we kind of wanted to open this up because, like we said, so many people come to our inboxes talking about different things. And so we decided to bring this up. Like she said, as long as we've been friends and I thought we knew everything about each other, but she never told me this, bits and pieces you talk about, but to the depth that we talked about it last night, I never knew. And that just hurt me to my heart, to my soul. It really did.
Yeah, and that, and I just felt like when I brought the topic to her, I said, we really need to talk about this because a lot of people, and she was like, that's a good topic. And then I wanted to let her understand why. Because I remember this guy inboxed me and he was telling me that his father was molesting him. I tried to just sit on that inbox with him and just tell him, what do you tell somebody when it's happening over and over and over again and you're still around the father that's doing it and you're older now and you're still around the person that did it and now your father's older, he no longer is able to do for himself, and now you're taking care of the person that used to just molest you forever. How do you do that?
That's got to be a hard pill to swallow. And also you think about the person, what's going through their mind, because 9 times out of 10, when that person gets older, either they start to have dementia or forget things, or they choose not to remember what they did to you, and they expect you not to remember what they did to you. But in the case that you do remember, like you said, do you confront them at that time? And do you let them know, hey, listen, what you did was messed up. How could you do that? You scarring a person, you have a person confused as to what their sexuality is supposed to be, how they're supposed to be loved. And then you have them looking for love in all the wrong places, get mistreated, abused, all types of stuff. People turning to the streets, and, it just opens up like a wide range of different things and feelings and emotions. And then when it affects you, of course, mentally, where like you said, you have that mental breakdown, anything can happen. I'm just so sorry that it happened to you and anybody else that that I don't know and that I know and love, because it's just unacceptable behavior, period. It don't even matter.
Mark said, what are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about how does being raped and molested affect you in your adult life.
Yeah, and
hi from England.
Hi from England. So yeah, it's a sticky topic, and it's a sad topic. And like I said, most people don't recover fully. Most people take it. Some people never talk about it. They had a show on Netflix. It wasn't a show. It was two twin brothers that aired their story. The mother raped these boys from the time they was 4 till they was 37. One of the brothers was in a car accident and was in a coma, and he woke up and didn't remember anything. And the other brother, that was the twin, had to remember everything. And he didn't want to tell the brother what happened, so he created a world for his brother that was so beautiful. Like, he made everything seem like it was great and like there was nothing wrong. But the brother that was in the coma, that came out, that lost his memory, he started seeing flashes of things that had happened. And as he went to his mother's house, he would see like pictures of his head cut off with his penis out. And he was like, why would mom have a picture of us with our penises and not our faces? Come to find out, this mother, horrible, was taking her boys, giving them to her girlfriends and men, dropping them off to their houses, letting them get molested, letting them do this every day up until she died. Up until she died.
Wow.
They never left her home. And the one brother, when he had to tell him about what took place, the other brother couldn't even understand. He couldn't even fathom what had just took place. And it was horrible. How do you take your kid and give it to someone else and say, hey, you do her too? You go ahead and knock yourself out. It's okay. As a parent, what do you gain? I look at my little girl and I look and I go, if anybody touched her, I would kill for her, like literally. And I can't even picture it in my head, but then I don't put her in a situation where she'd be compromised.
Right.
I allow her to be a little girl and remain a little girl. I was bodily at a very young age. I had things that little girls at my age didn't have. And I guess that's what sucked the person in to want to touch me or to want to take me to that place, that dark place, and being in rooms and being told, this is what it's supposed to feel like. You're supposed to kiss me. You're supposed to love me. You're supposed to do these things. And your mother would let you do it, but your mother can't know right now. And I don't want to speak of the other person that it happened to, because that person is still going through it, still struggling with this topic. and it's not a good, it's just a dark place that is, you can't you can't imagine it. You just can't.
Latoya said some people may not tell because they're ashamed or maybe think that no man would want them. And uh, she said, but one thing she can say is she had to forgive, but she can't forget, and she couldn't do it without God, for sure. But, people don't realize the effect that they have on somebody when they do stuff like this. And then it's even worse when you know, your child comes to you and you're the parent and you tell that child that you don't either believe them or just tell them not to talk about it. If they can't talk to you as the parent, who can they talk to and who can they come to? You know, and thank God and luckily for me, I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So our family was very, in my household, we were very open and we talked about everything. And that never ever happened to me, or, overprotective parents and siblings and things like that. But it has happened to some family members, in the family, but it didn't happen in mine. You know what I'm saying? In my immediate family, and this
Hmm.
is like, you just, I'm just at a loss for words because, I think about this all the time and I'd be like, how can a person do this to a helpless child? What can a child do for an adult? What can you
But it's but
possibly
it's
do?
it's no different than a man raping a woman. It's
Right. But you're a
control. It's
child.
all about control. It's about controlling and
Yeah.
being dominant over a situation that you feel like you have to be dominant over. And it's sad. It's sad that people have to do that to people. I mean, you look at R. Kelly. You look at the movie Precious when her mother chose the guy. I mean, she had 2 kids by her dad,
Yes.
and that was real. The mother said what she said. I want somebody to love me, and here he is pounding on my door, and she hated her. So those are the things that's real. You wondering in your mind, is my mom, is my father, are they going to blame me saying I asked for it? Are they going to blame me saying I want it? A lot of women that are raped, dancers, strippers, people just walking down the road, coming out of a grocery store, and some sick man looks at them and just feels like they can violate her. But you don't even know the headspace that you put somebody in. You don't even know what you do to their whole world because their whole world is now shattered.
You're right, Casey. Let's
I
see.
can't see any of these things on this screen. I
I'm
know
trying to
Mark.
look so I can answer people. And I still hear an echo. But
Yeah, cut your phone off on.
my phones are off.
See, mine's off. I can't hear it. I'm sorry, y'all. We having echo issues.
Yeah, but Latoya said, but having this happen to you, it will make you look at surroundings and how you raise your kids and grandkids. I had to separate how I look at things and situations because of what was done to me that I don't want to mistake things. I don't believe girls sitting on men's laps or how people would pick up my kids and different things. This can take a role in your life. I tell you, but God gave me peace. And you are absolutely right. I never, ever, ever, if it's not my daughter's father, no, we're not playing that. You're not sitting on nobody's lap. Don't offer my daughters anything. None of that. I never
Exactly.
played none of that. If it didn't come from one of their uncles, that's my immediate family or something like that. And they don't play that sitting on lap stuff. We just don't do that. Certain things you don't do with your girls, but you also have to watch your boys.
Yeah,
Because,
grown women lusting after your boys. Mark
because
said if anybody did that to his kids, they would wish they weren't born. And
right,
yeah,
and we all say that, and it's true in my case, and a whole lot of you, but we're so focused on our girls that we have to look at, this happens to the young men too, to the boys, you know, when they're going off to football camp or whatever, you got to watch these coaches, you got to watch these pastors, you got to watch uncles, whoever, the same thing applies, the same rule applies because there's no exemption because the child is so young, they figure they don't know what's going on, they can't tell, or they convince them that this is right. This is horribly, horribly wrong in any way you look at it. It's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to dress it up. It's just all, excuse my language, fucked up. And nobody should be doing this to anybody. And even, as far as the rapes go, men husbands rape their wives all the time. Even with this pandemic,
Uh-huh.
the abuse rate has gone up tremendously. And you have abuse, you have rape, you have, and these women, they feel like they can't get out. They don't have anybody to talk to, because most of the time the man isolates the woman. And
right.
that's all she knows. And nobody, a lot of times, don't even know what's going on in the household, how this woman's being tortured sometimes on a daily basis. But it's not being talked about, because who can she tell? If he's got her, he's, alienated her from her friends. The only person that she knows is him. She can't go anywhere without telling him where she's going, and he's got to know all of her whereabouts, because he doesn't want her out, so that she's able to relay this to somebody to where she could get help. She's powerless, and he just needs, like she said, all the power over this person. And that's, to me, as a sick individual, to want that type of control over a person and possessiveness. We are not to be kept like, animals or anything like that. It's just.
Sometimes this stuff is taught, though. Sometimes men, they watch their fathers, how they treat their mothers. Mm-hmm. You have people that grow up in domestic households where their fathers beat the hell out of their mothers all their lives, and all they know is what they see. They're learning. So that's in their mind, this is how you treat a woman. It's just like when you see your sons calling girl bitches and you entertain it and you go, oh, yeah, that's what you say, son. That's what you do. And you're giving them that and you're making them feel like that's good. Like that's what you do. I mean, you men need to step up to the plate on that level and say, no, sons, these are not how you treat women. You open a door. You do not call a woman something that you wouldn't call your own mother. But fathers don't do that. A lot of times now, women are raising their boys by themselves because the fathers are all running all over the world doing what they're doing. So the mothers are here trying, struggling to make their boys men. They're out here running, doing what they're doing. And they don't know how to treat women. They don't understand when a girl says no, it means no. And it's actually rape when someone tells you to stop.
No is no.
So, that, Latoya, we really appreciate you being on tonight and speaking your story. And honey, I am with you when you say dark places. That's why I just stopped talking, because I felt myself getting very emotional. It is so hard for people that have been through this to talk about it, especially on a plateau like this. Like we're talking to the world now about things that have happened in places in our life, and you don't know how somebody's going to look at you at this point. But who to tell your story but you?
Right.
I look at it like maybe I'm saving someone right now. Maybe someone will say, you know what, this is happening to me. Maybe somebody's watching right now and saying, oh my God, this is going on right now. And I just want to release it. I just want to get out of it. Sometimes you have to dig yourself from where you are, honey, and run.
Felicia said sometimes people do what is done to them, which is true.
Which is exactly true. A lot of times people replay things that are done. How many kids have watched their mothers, literally. Say it again, huh?
I was talking to Tori. I was answering. She said her mama didn't play that. I said she sure didn't. Thank you, Latoya.
Mark said something, but I can barely see it.
Who?
Did Mark's pop up on your wall yet?
Yeah. He said, what a messed up world, but don't forget there are good men out there. I was taught by my mom to treat women with great respect. That is something I will always keep and teach my kids the same. That is true. That's a good thing, but, like she said, sometimes people are the product of their environment and they just know what they know. If nobody's shown them anything different, what are they supposed? I mean, there's things out here you can learn, or maybe, go to another friend's house or couples where you see the woman being treated with respect, or all those types of things, and then you'd be like, well, damn, that's how somebody's supposed to be treated. But if that's all you know and you haven't seen anything else, you're going to keep repeating the cycle. It doesn't stop. Right. And the cycle has to stop with you, for you to say in your mind, like, you know what, this don't even feel right, so I need to be trying to do something else, but that's an individual choice too. If you want better, you got to do better.
But then you got to think about, what about the kids that can't talk? What about the babies? What about people molesting babies that are like 4 or 5 months? And you see these kids go into a hospital and their wounds are tore to hell because some grown man just put his penis in a child that couldn't even cry at the age she's crying at. What about the 2-year-olds that can't talk for themselves? What about the 5-year-olds? These are the ones you're speaking for. And you're going, look what you're doing. Look at what you're bringing to your household. This is where my mind goes to the left. That's why I tell people, and I came on my wall and said, don't send me certain stuff to my page. When it was going around about the little kid and he was 3 years old sucking his father's penis, and they was like, let this go viral. Why in the world would you want that to go viral? Why would you want to air that to anybody? Like, why? What are you gaining? You want to like, you want to love? What are you wanting from that? Because what you've now done is you've ruined that kid. For the rest of their life, you've ruined them. And those are the things that get me heated when I think about mothers, and I think about how mothers just leave their kids with everybody. And I think about people and how they just drop their babies off and they go, oh, he can watch it, she can watch it. And then you have random men just around your girl kids all the time, and they're in and out your house like a door. And then at the same breath, you're going, but I love my baby. No, how can you? Your baby shouldn't be laying between no other man if it's not her father. And if she ain't laying between him, then she should just be laying with you. Period. Period.
Because I'm not bashing men. I'm talking about the ones who actually do this. You're raising some hell of a good man. You're a good man yourself. I'm not talking about that, and I'm not by any means trying to bash anybody. I'm just talking about the ones who actually do this, and there are a whole lot of good men, a whole lot of, men that don't have kids that are great father figures, great mentors and role models. I'm talking about the ones who be on that bullshit, who want to do this with kids, not the good ones. I'm not talking about those. But it has to be taught. Like you say, things happen to you, but you teach your kids something totally different. Your son is a great father. Great father. Can't say nothing about y'all. But I'm just talking about the ones who actually do this, not the ones who do what they're supposed to. And another thing is, when I turn on the TV and watch the news, and you have these women meeting all these different dudes and leaving them with their kids, and then they come home, the child is either dead, abused, molested, or something is happening to them. Those are the men that I'm talking about, not the ones that do what they're supposed to do. I've always been one of those mothers. Ain't nobody keeping my baby if it wasn't my mama or my sister or my Michelle right here. That's it. Leaving your kids anywhere and introducing your kids to all these different types of people coming in and out of their life like that. To me, in my opinion, that's just not cool. You just don't do that.
No, you can't. But let me say that, like Rhonda just said, we're not talking about men that actually take the wheel. They are phenomenal fathers. There are some fathers that raise their girls without a mother, and they love them and they protect them. We're not talking about those fathers. We're talking about the parents that allow their kids to go through this suffering without seeing. There's sometimes a mother will know that somebody is molesting their child, know that somebody is harming their child, and they will allow it because they don't want the man to leave. So actually what you're telling your child is, I'm gonna let you suffer because I don't want him to go. I don't want him to go nowhere. So you're gonna be abused and you're gonna deal with it because I need him in my bed. I need him there.
You're telling this child, I choose them, not you. You know what I'm saying? You said, I choose this person over you. This person is so important to me that they can continue doing what they're doing to you as long as I can keep them. And for anybody to think like that, your child comes first, especially when they're at that age where they can't help themselves. And if you take care of your child and you're in close, you're close to your kid, when something is wrong. They don't have to tell you. You will look and you will know by that child's actions, their movements, their attitudes, their demeanor. It shows there are signs that you see. So if you choose to ignore those signs, that's a problem with you, and you need to go look at yourself.
David, let me ask you a question, because I know you said that you was molested by everybody that ever watched you. How has this affected you in your adult life now? What does it do to you now? When you sit down and you think about everybody that has been in my life has not shown me love. They've shown me that it's okay to play with me. It's okay to touch me. It's okay. How do you cope with that now? So I'm going to give you time to answer that, because I see you on here and I see what you're saying. And I think we've talked before, but I'm almost certain we probably have. But I just want to know what does that make you feel like now as a man? Like, what do you feel like on the inside?
My nieces, I got 3 nieces and I got all boys. One got three boys, one got 4, one got 5. When I tell you they don't play the radio with their sons, they don't have nobody around their boys playing and this and that. And the one, you can't even play with her son the wrong way. If you just like doing male stuff, trying to bond with him or whatever, and you hit him the wrong way, she's going in. She ain't play none of that with her boys. And she never let nobody keep them. If it wasn't me, or they said with her mama or one of my girls, nobody kept her sons. And that's just how she rolls. She don't play that. And the other one, she keep hers all the time. If they ain't at their grandmother's or they didn't come here, nobody kept them, And I think, having boys, you still got to be careful. He said he
So,
does.
David, you don't deal with it at all. Is it something you just put out of your head, or you just don't address it? You just are done with it altogether. Like, do you see these people? Are you around them? Do you know who they were? Like those things. I mean, you said you don't, and I mean, I know what you mean when you say you don't. Like, you just don't deal with it at all. But is that a good place to be? How does that affect you in relationships? What does it bring to the table in your relationships?
Let's see. That's right, Nicole. That's what I just said. You can't have random people around your children. No, you cannot.
He said he had his Uncle Frank and he showed him the right way.
Yeah.
Well, at least you had somebody. At least you had somebody to talk to. I think a lot of times we don't have people to go to that will listen and that will understand what you're going through. And a lot of times people think you're lying or you've made it up or it couldn't have happened or how could it happen. And it also depends on how close the person is to your family, because your family can make you feel like you just lied, like you're lying, and that never happened. And I think with us, we felt like that would have been the outcome. And that's probably why we carried it so long, because it was just like, this is going to not go well if we open our mouths and talk about it. So we just didn't. For years, we just didn't talk about it. And that's what we did, because that's what was expected of us, to not speak on it.
Felicia, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, hon.
Felicia said, share it with the police. Damn. Well, sometimes they don't even believe you. This is like when a woman goes to the hospital and they do the rape kit, they ask all these questions and they interrogate the woman and make her feel bad for reporting what happened to her. So it's like from the get-go, she don't have anybody that's on her side. Granted, some people do lie about these things, they do. But the ones who's telling the truth, and you go to the hospital, they do the kit and they be like, well, why did you do this? Why were you over there? Why did you wear that? Did you want attention? I should be able to wear whatever the hell I want to wear without somebody bothering me.
Right. And they say you asked for it. Did you provoke it? Right. What did you do to make them want to touch you? How was you walking? This is the stuff they ask you. And I work in a hospital. So you already know this is what they ask you for real. They make you feel like your story, they downgrade you. What'd she say?
She said she was talking about the video she was referring to.
Oh, I don't know the video.
Hook is a good dude. That's our cousin, Frank. He gonna keep it real and he gonna protect you by no means. He'll lose his life for one of his cousins and his nieces and nephews. He don't play that, but the blessing is that is that you had somebody, and I'm glad you did, but this
Vonda, have you ever had a man that you just told no and he just don't stop?
Yeah. He didn't want to stop, but he had to stop because he's about to die. So, really. And you can't, like you said, if I'm telling you no means no. I don't care what you want. This is what I want for myself. If I don't want that, go about your business. Go to the next person or just leave me alone, because it's not going to be as easy as you think it is. Because to me, that's playing with my life, because I don't know what else you out here doing. You know what I'm saying? And you trying to do this, and you trying to force me to do something that I really don't want to do. And I don't like that. Don't try that with me. You just, no. And, that's just what it was. And thank God nothing happened. It was going at that point in time, if you want to try this, something bad gonna happen to either me or you or me and you, because you're not just gonna take what I don't want to give you. You know what I mean? Like, no.
That's true. And that, a lot of y'all know that me and Vonda's been friends for 30 plus years. Vonda has actually helped me through a lot of situations I had put myself in, like actually, grabbing people and saying, let her go. Like literally, let her go, or I'm going to bust a cap in you. Let her go, because of that mindset, and doing stuff, reacting, and not even knowing that she's reacting to something that I'm causing or manipulating because of what I felt like at that time. A lot of times, she pulled me clean out of the trenches and didn't even know she was pulling me. So, hats off to my bestie, because she's been with me for so long through so many things that I went through. I mean, she could probably write a book about some of the things that I've been through, that she has stood by me in and just say, girl, we gonna get you to a better place. Because I was in some dark places when I met Vonda, like very, very dark places. And she stood by me for a long, long time. Like my kids, she watched my kids be born. She's been through both my marriages. She's been there, and she's been a trooper. And that face never changes. So when you say, when we fall out, we fuss, we argue like sisters. But at the end of the day, when I say, hey, I'm down and out, I'm in the Delta, I need you, she coming. If I'm crying on that phone, and sometimes I don't even gotta be crying, I just be like, girl, I just need to talk. I need to scream. I need to holler, because this is thick. And she's just always that friend to say, I'm there. And sometimes that's what you need. So last night when I opened up to her, that's how I felt. I was like, this is the one piece of my life that I haven't let her in on. But she needs to know where I've been and why some things are the way they are in my family. And now it makes sense to her. Whereas in before, she just thought, them motherfuckers is crazy. And I'm sure that's what she was thinking. But it's not that. It's that the picture was so bigger.
Yeah.
And she needed to see it and understand this is why that's so big. And I owe her a lot. I love her to pieces. I mean, I'm going to get emotional because she's like my bestie. She has been with me through every surgery, every procedure, every bump, bruise, rock. The only thing that she's not shared with me is the story that I'm sharing with y'all tonight.
And now I know too, just like y'all.
Uh-huh. Just
Latoya
that
said,
simple.
this situation actually happening to me made me learn one mind and train of thought. This made me educate. I'm sorry, y'all, because I can't hardly see. I'm trying to look at this too. This made me educate how mental illness or attraction can occur in human beings. And I learned that the greatest person walking a great road, great family, good in the eye of many folks, and still inside have mental illnesses, what cause a rapist and a molester to do have an illness that isn't something that just comes up and one day they decide they want to touch. It's something that offsets their mental way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with you, Victoria.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with that. I
Yeah.
think they think it through. It's not something that it's their mind. It's the thought of your mind and what you
Mhm.
bring to the table in your mind. They have played it over and over again. Before they actually try it, they've thought about it. Can I get away with it? Will they tell? Who they gonna tell? How can I manipulate them? This
Mhm.
is how it gets to a child. As an adult, it's probably even worse. And don't think for 1 second that this doesn't happen to men. It says 1 in 6 people every hour is molested or raped.
Mm-mm-mm. Woo. Latoya said, I can say being 39, I can honestly say that people, it's not right there. It's no correction of, wait a minute, y'all, of one's behavior. And if that person can't seek or acknowledge their wrongdoing and that it's wrong, that same person will do it again. And you are absolutely right. And you said, people think about stuff and then they'll let it manifest because
Mm-hmm.
like you said, they've sat there, they've thought about it, they've thought of all the pros and cons, what could happen, who may do this and who's not going to do that, and they act on it. They
Yep.
act on it.
And they think about how they can get away with it. And
Yeah,
you think about it,
exactly.
when a person molests a child's mind is so innocent that they thinking this is right. This is supposed to happen. But I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around it. How do you do that to a baby?
It's sickening.
How do you take a baby that's barely 2 months and climb on top of it and think that's normal? Your
Exactly.
mind, yeah, your mind has to be so confused. That's the word I'm going to use. Has to be so confused that you yourself can't even wrap your head around your own mind.
So let me ask you this. What do you think about the man that watches a child from a little girl grow up and then go after her? She may not be of age yet, and sometimes she may be of age. But how do you feel about that? Do you think, even though
He's a
he had
pedophile.
touched her or molested her at a very young age, he waits till she becomes of age and then approaches her or gets with her or whatever? To me, in my opinion, that's some type of thing that you have. I don't want to say molestation because she's grown up, but you watched this child. That means you had desires for
You
her
had the desire.
at a very young age. And to me, that's just sickening. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
this is a
It's
baby.
the
You gonna
same
wait till she
thing.
grows up, see how she develops and what happens, and then you're gonna go after her? That's just not right to me.
Because
Right.
in your mind, you've already slept with her. You've already
Yeah.
seen her
You've
grow.
done
You've already
everything
watched
to
her
her.
body develop. You probably done took her a couple of baths with her parents. Because a lot of times people say, "Oh, go bathe my baby for me." I don't
No.
even trust the women bathing my children. If you're bathing my child, I want to be nearby. Unless you're like a Vonda or my mama or someone that I know, you can't just be in there bathing my child. No, no, no. And you
Never.
don't even know we're in her when she's naked. I mean, some little girls at 2 are very, very developed. You have little babies that are thick.
Mm-hmm.
They're thick kids. And then their mothers put on these little tight pants that make them their crotch area show and their booties look, and they got on heels at 2. And then they wonder why, cut off shirts and tank tops with everything hanging all out. And then you wonder why people are looking and staring, and you can see it. You go in a grocery store and you can see a whole man turn his whole head to look at your kid. And sometimes your kid is 13 and they're turned all the way around looking at your child. And what do you say?
Even when I was younger, my brother's like 9, 10, 11 years older than me, all of them, from 6 years to 11 years older than me. And like you said, growing up, I was shapely too. And I remember one time, I never forget, I was at the store and one of my brother's friends, I was like maybe 12, 13, somewhere in there, felt my butt. And I was just devastated. I was like, what? As soon as I came home, Felicia tell you, I'm telling it. And I told my brothers, and then when I was the only thing I had to say, they went, they found me, and they whooped his ass. He, even, when I got older, like 18, 19, 21, up in those ages, when he saw me, he just, if I was right here, he was right here, he'll go that way. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the protection you need. Like when you're growing up, you want to feel like you're safe, and if anything happened to me, I'm telling my brothers, I'm telling my mama, I'm telling somebody in the family, somebody gonna know what's going on with me, because it ain't just gonna happen and I'm gonna just be sitting back like afraid to talk. You know what I mean?
But what if it happened? What if it caught you off guard and you just didn't see it coming?
I didn't. I mean, but we were in a public place and he touched me, but I knew that it wasn't right. But then I was old enough to know that that wasn't right. You understand what I'm saying? Right, it wasn't like I was so young to where he did it. And I was like, well, people just do. No, it wasn't nothing like that. I was old enough to understand that what he did, he wasn't supposed to do. But he just touched
me. That's a difference. That's a difference.
Appropriate. Huh?
I said, that's the difference when you know and you go, oh, that ain't right. You ain't supposed to be touching me like that. Versus you have no idea and you're like, what in the hell did you why are you doing this to me? Or why are you telling me to touch this on you? Or that's the stuff that make people go, and why?
Right. LaToya said, yes, you can do these things in your mind, and you haven't acted on it. Maybe you haven't acted on it physically, but you actually have already raped and molested that person you prey upon. Yeah, just like you just said, in the mind. My cousin said, because I've got a lot of kids that grew up with my kids trying me. I was sick. Let's see. Ronnie Mills said, yes, it does have an effect on your life and how you look at the opposite sex, whether it's a man or a woman, but counseling and knowing that it's not your fault and that you can love and trust again and really trust the people around you when they say that they love you unconditionally. That's true.
And Ronnie Mills, I agree with that. I think anybody can overcome it. It just takes you a while to get there. Anybody that it's happened to, it's not overnight. You go in places that you don't want to be. Like I said, I was hospitalized. I tried to take my life. I hated everything about me, but maybe I had to go through the crash to get to where I am today and be happy with myself and be happy in my skin and happy with the things that go on. Not to say that sometimes I don't sit and go, like, why? It's very seldom, very far fetched. But then you have to tell that to somebody. Imagine you meet somebody and you have to tell them, hey, I've been down this road. This might be a dark place for you. This might not be something that you want to know happen to somebody. You don't know you don't know unless you have somebody that's been there. So it does play a role. It's just like being raped. Everything plays a role in your adult life because you're taking that to the table. You're now questioning things that you do, the way you carry yourself. Don't provoke men if you know you don't want to go down that road with them. Don't lead people on. Don't do certain things to put you in situations that's going to compromise who you are.
My cousin said a lot of kids that's grown up with his kids are trying him. He was sick. Like the girls that grew up with his sons are now trying to come at him like that. But he's not that type of dude. He want a grown ass woman. You know what I mean? Even though his sons are grown, to him, this is like one of my kids is coming at me. You know what I mean? Like, because they grew up with him. You know?
Right. But you have men that don't care.
To things. It's boundaries to things. It's up to you to decide whether you're going to act on those things or not. Even though they're grown and they grew up with your kids, just like he said, it's like his kids, and that just ain't cool. But
Yeah, Xavier. It's a rough topic, but we want to have fun topics, but we want to also have real topics. We got to talk about things sometimes that's going to make you itch a little bit. It's going to make you think a little bit. And then you have people. This conversation can make other people go, you know what? I'm tired of hiding this lie. Maybe someone will go to a police station tomorrow and say, hey, this person's raping me. This person's touching me. Maybe somebody will go to their teacher and say, hey, my dad or my cousin or my uncle or my friend is touching me inappropriately. You don't know what these type of topics. I wish I had someone back then to say, hey, I don't know what's going on, but this is wrong. I don't know why this is supposed to fit, and I don't know why it's being done to me. And I'm not sure why I'm being asked to do it because I didn't have that. I didn't have that comfort. So it was just like, what do? You just walk with it. You walk with it.
You deal with it the best way you know how to deal with it. That's all you can do at the end of the day. And luckily, on a good note, your life has turned out well.
Well, it has.
Obstacles and rough spots. You still got me, and I still gonna love you.
Yes, and we're still on this grind, honey. We are.
I'm glad it helped you, man. And Latoya said she agrees with you 100%.
Yeah, Latoya, I can see we had some of the same things going on. But you know what, y'all, we are winners because guess what? We're still here, honey, and we still bouncing through these walls. We still smiling and gliding. I'm in a happy place in my life. I love who I am. I've surrounded myself with good people, I believe, and that's all you can do. Hats off to us because we won.
Yes, ma'am. And I've been trying to get through this whole segment, trying to hold back these tears because it's really got to me.
I know, right? I'm just like, this is a topic that hits you in the soul.
But on Wednesday, we're going to talk about something a little bit fun. But like she said, we're going to mix it up and just talk about real life issues that people actually go through that, they don't want to talk about it. They don't know who to come to. And like we said, my inbox, our inbox, just, and we'll try to answer as much as we can and, try to find you information. If you don't know it, if you need help somewhere, please don't hesitate to leave a number or something. We'll get back to you and try to find out,
what we can do to help.
Area where you can get some help if you need it.
And do know that there is help out there. There are people you can talk to. There are people that have hotlines for people that's being raped and beaten and molested. There's places you can go. You can Google helplines. Back when I was growing up, they didn't have helplines. You had to tell it. You had to tell it and pray somebody believed you. Latoya said something, but I can't. That's gibberish to me.
That's why we got to teach our kids to think and watch how and who they trust, the boys and girls, because there are some men that can be the biggest bad gangster but prey on little boys, and as well as women that like young men and boys. So this happens everywhere in any home. So we just got to pray and cover and always watch our surroundings. and watch those that may take advantage of your situation. So be careful. That is true, Latoya. I totally agree with that. Thank you. Make sure you tune in again, everybody, Wednesdays. And
Yes, and thank y'all so much. This is our hour.
thank you,
This is
Casey.
our hour. So we're
Yeah.
going to close out tonight, y'all. Thank you all so much for being open. Thank you for listening to our stories. Latoya, Felicia, Xavier, all the people that joined in, our friend from England, Ronnie. I can't go through the list. There's a whole bunch of y'all that was talking, but we appreciate the love. Thank you. Stay tuned for us on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be back up same time, same hour with a different topic. Raw, y'all.
Y'all
Real
have a good day.
topics.
Love you guys.
So we're going to bow out gracefully, y'all. This is Shelly Live and Be Lovebird, y'all. Loving life and loving what we do. Mwah. Until the next time.
Good night, y'all. Love you too, Lisa.
Love y'all too. Good night, Jeffrey.
Good night, Jeffrey. Thank you.